Mrs. Waddle and us.
But she was in her own private house.
Well, there were Mrs. Flood.
Aye.
With her about 4 or 5 lasses and a laddie. And then there was Mrs. Anderson. Oh, they were quite well off because he was an insurance man.
He was the only well off one in the row.
And then there was Mr. and Mrs. Main. They were a very lovely old couple that didn't bother anybody.
Yeah.
And then
Mrs.
Boner and Mrs. Strickland. And the Strickland went when the first load went away to Australia. Remember? They went there.
Well, this was the row. This was the doors. And you always had your neighbours close to you, the next door. Then a wee bit apart and you had the next door. But they were good neighbours.
If you needed a cup of sugar, any neighbour would give you it because they knew you would get
it back. That was the six that we were in the first one. Right. Well, all right, my neighbour.
Yes, of course.
7A.
Right.
Because the private house at this side, onto this, was 37.
Oh, I
so
see.
we were called 37A.
Right.
And
Mrs.
then there
Flood.
was the road. Well, it was a sort of, you had your steps, which you came out and scrubbed and put your rubbing stone on them.
You put your what on them?
Your rubbing stone.
A stone made of cement, and you put some
And you
water on
put
it.
fancy designs on
them.
All right.
on your step. You scrub them every day. That's me make a wee design on my step. That's a footpath.
Yes.
Footpath.
And that was long after the footpaths were done.
Aye.
I mean, I was born before there were nothing but dirt. Nothing but dirt.
And then the whales were on the very rim of this.
Pavement.
Aye. I can't think where a lion's head, but
That's okay. I've got an idea there.
and that was the water coming out.
And a Friday.
And you know, there was an iron cup also hung at the side.
On a
You want a
chain.
drink.
And anybody passing could use that
Right.
for a cup
For a
of
drink.
water. Aye.
Oh.
And